Hi friends, welcome to this very special video because this is the first video that I make on my new pedal, the Microcosm by Hologram Electronics. And in this video I want to give you share with you some of my first impressions that I got with this pedal, and also how I pair it with my other two main devices, the Elektron Digitakt and the Elektron Digitone. Just before we start and get into some of the sound exploring on this device, a quick explanation of what all these three devices do and how I use them. The Digitakt is mainly my sampler that I use as a drum machine, but also for some kind of melodic samples that I have on here, like for example these sounds, but of course also drum sounds. Then I have the Digitone, my FM synth that I use mainly for bass, but also for arpeggios and also lead sounds. And then of course the new one in the game, the Hologram Microcosm, is basically an effect pedal that rearranges audio signals coming in and then turns them into really amazing soundscapes that are sometimes very different from the original signal that you feed into it. It also has a filter, a reverb called space here, and also a mix control over here that you can use to mix the dry and the wet signal. And also it has a looping function, but I haven't been using it too much and don't want to touch on that today. I use the pedal to turn my melodic elements from my jams coming from the Digitone into totally different soundscapes and use it in breaks in my jams. Let me show you how I connect all these devices. So first, let's have a quick look at the audio connections. The Digitone is the first device in the chain. It routes the audio, or the outs are going into this stereo input into the microcosm, and then the microcosm's outs are going into the Digitakt, and then the Digitakt's outs, these ones here, are going into my mixer. And just to quickly touch on MIDI, the Digitakt is the master device, you can say, sending MIDI clock to the Digitone, and with this connection here. And then, sorry, not this one, this connection here. And then the Digitone is sending this MIDI out to the microcosm to keep it in sync to all devices. So you can see when I start this one, you can see here with the flashing light, all devices are synced up. I do this, or the routing I do this way, because I realized when I connected all these devices together, my first idea was to have also the Digitakt sounds being affected by the microcosm. And I realized that this sometimes, or with the microcosm affecting all signals, you have kind of like ambience all over the place. And I felt that I was losing my groove and a little bit of the structure of my jams. So what is happening now? For example, I turn on one track on the Digitone. You can hear how this one is affected by the microcosm, but when I bring in some tracks from the Digitakt, you can hear that they are not affected. And this really helps me to maintain the groove of my jams and don't get lost too much in the ambient soundscapes of this device. So now let's dive right into these devices and let me show you how I try to use the microcosm with this setup all together. This, by the way, is a jam that I'm currently working on. It's still work in progress. You might know it from my sketches that I did here on the channel. I will link one of these somewhere up here, and it sounds like this. And I tried to take this jam and integrate the microcosm into it, which works really well, and I will share with you now some of the thoughts and some of the sounds that I use it on. The first thing that I realized, and this goes into the same direction as the thing that I said with the microcosm affecting all the signals before, I realized when I use the microcosm on a lot of different sounds here coming from the Digitone, it's getting pretty wild pretty fast. So what I did for this jam, for the intro, or was my idea basically, I just start with some melodic sounds coming from the Digitakt, but also the lead coming from the Digitone. And this sounds like this. And then I want to slowly bring in the microcosm sound. And then include more sounds from the Digitakt. Open the filter on the microcosm sound. Give it some more reverb. Include an additional ARP. Bring in more elements. And now I slowly want to go back to the dry signal. And I realized the best thing to do this is to use the filter and the mix together and slowly dial it back. And now I'm trying to make a transition back into the regular pattern. Yeah, this is still something that I'm working on, because I find it quite hard to make smooth transitions with the mix knob over here, because yeah, it's kind of hard to control all these things at the same time. But yeah, I'm getting used more and more to it, and I realized when I use it together with the filter, I can show you here with this sound here. The transition is way smoother than before, or without using it with the filter knob. One additional thing that I realized, and which is pretty cool, when I here on the Digitone open some of the filters of the melodic sounds going on here, you can really hear that this sound is affected as well. So when we now play it, sorry, I'll show you the dry signal first. This is the dry signal. And now we are going into the ambient world. And now I open the filters on all melodic tracks. Can really hear that a lot more harmonic elements are coming into the jam, and this is pretty cool, and something I also used a lot for transitions. And one additional thing that you have, I'll just stop this here. One additional thing that you have, which is pretty cool, is that you have here kind of like a freeze function. So when you have a signal going on, let's stick with this. Let's stick with this. These sounds here. I could now just press this one to record a tiny snippet of the audio coming into the microcosm, and now This loop of audio, you can hear it, is being fed into the signal all the time, or being used and affected by the effects. And this is pretty cool to have an additional groove going on, and then, for example, combine this with some more percussive instruments or tracks from the Digitakt. And now this is also a cool way to go back to your not affected sounds, because the microcosm gives you the chance to, when you press this button, the bypass button, it gives you the chance not to cut off the wet signal immediately, but to fade it out smoothly. So let me just show you this. I'll just keep everything playing, or just the melodic elements down here on the Digitone being affected by this pedal. And now, when I press this, you can hear that it smoothly fades out. Which is also a cool way to go back from the ambient landscape that you create with this device to the regular sounds. One last thing that I want to show you for this first impressions video is some of the presets that I'm using here on the microcosm. For that, I'm again using just this lead sound here. We'll turn the mix down and then turn the signal back on. And for this jam that I showed you till now, I'm using the fourth presets of the mosaic effect, you can say. And let me just scroll through some of the presets to show you what this device can all do to this lead sound. So this is the sound that we already know. I'll turn the space a little bit back. Now we are into the granular effects. This one's called haze. You can really hear how the sound is chopped up here. By the way, you can hear when you're changing presets, the effects of course get interrupted a little bit, so you don't have a very smooth transition. So when you're playing live, I think it's not a good idea to change the effects while you're affecting the sound. This one's called Tunnel. This is a more wild one. This one is called Strum. And it also has a multi-delay that you're hearing right now. Quickly to go through the last one. Sorry, these are the user presets. I haven't used these ones yet or saved anything on here, but this is the glitch mode, also very, very cool. This one, by the way, also works very great on percussive sounds. I've tried this when I hooked this pedal up with the Digitone, worked very, very well, but for this setup, like I told you in the beginning, decided to not use the device, at least for now, on percussive sounds. hear, by the way, now that these changes here are perfectly synced to the beat. Another very glitchy one. Just to remember, it all started with just this lead sound coming here from the Digitone. And yeah, that's it for this first impressions video. I hope that you found this one kind of useful and enjoyed this video. And yeah, I'm also thinking of making a live stream on this device because I just have this pedal for a couple of weeks now and still need to learn a lot. But it has been great fun so far, and I would love to take you with me on this learning journey, and maybe in a live stream just talk a little bit with you, and maybe you can give me some tips on how to best use this pedal and this device. Yeah, let me know if something like that would be interesting for you. Until then, stay safe and creative, and I see you very soon. Cheers.